Okay, so respect to Buddha Dhamma Sangha and all here venerable who join here, and then all audience. Thank you for everyone to joining and welcome. And this program is more, we are educating by both Theravada and Mahayana to the people, and then happening every month. The first the month of Monday, first Monday of the month, that's happening. And then today we invite two guest speaker. And before I explain, just briefly mentioning our program today. So the Anitendo Lobsang Tendola will lead the meditation 10 minutes. And after that, the Venerable Pemaratana will talk 20 minutes. And then Venerable Kishingong Sunam will talk 20 minutes. And then 30 minutes, we are having question, answer, and conclusions. So our main topic is how celebrate the new year in health and wisdom. So, and briefly introduce both speaker today. The Bande Pemaratna, he born in Sri Lanka and come to United States in 2008. So, and Bande Pemaratna become a monk 1986 when his age is 10-year-old. So his monastic training was under the total age of the most venerable Atengani Sasratana Mahathero at Shiripati Priyavina Monastery in Kuliwapitiya in Sri Lanka. So Bande Pemaratna holds bachelor degree with the first class honor in the Buddhist study from his University of Paradinia, Sri Lanka, and master degree in philosophy from the National University of Singapore. Amongst the places he has lectured are the University of Paradinia and Buddhist at Pali College of Singapore. And he received his PhD in religious study at the University of Padbro in April 2017. So he is currently the chief about of the Padbro Buddhist Center. He offers workshops on meditation at the Buddhist Center and yoga studies in the greater the same area. And then provide the spiritual counseling to help people to deal with challenging issue of life. And then next, our speaker is Geshe Ngawang Sonam. So Geshe Ngawang Sonam, he joined monastery in Serame in 1995. And then same year he received and now was formally ordained by Kyabji Thakur Rinpoche, who is the ex-abbot of Serame Monastery. So, and also in January 2019, he graduated after more than 20 years plus 6-year exam, study in philosophy, 5 major of philosophy. Then he was formally conferred the highest degree of Kishil Haramba. And in 1997, he received Bhikshu vows from His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. And 2008, he was selected by the office of His Holiness Dalai Lama to become one of the English translator for His Holiness Dalai Lama. Since then, he has companies, His Holiness to various places in India and around 9 countries around the world. In November 2016, His Holiness Dalai Lama called him to work in his office. And presently he works there as a translator and Buddhist scholar. And alongside his office work, he also found time to teach and attend conference with a modern scholar and scientist as a speaker. So thank you again, Geshe Ngawang Sonamla and Bande Pemaratna. So, and then after that, we're going to do Vandana. It's a prayer in Buddha Dhamma Sangha in Pali language, and after that we do in Sanskrit language. So let me do first in Pali language. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagavan Buddham Bhagavantam Avidami Tapo Savakato Bhagavato Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangam Namami. And next in Sanskrit. Buddham cha dharman cha katumam yavati buddham sharanam gatoshmi danadi punyascha kriti mayavi buddho bhaviyam jagato hitaya. Thank you so much. And next, Bande Kamalashiri will be the convert this program. Please, Bande Kamalashiri.
Sorry, I think we can start the program. Not need to say any thing about the program. Therefore, we can go to the meditation session. Yeah.
Let's relax into the safe harbor of the present moment. Gently withdrawing our attention from the sights, the chatter, the fragrance, and other sensations that crowd around us. Breathing slowly, like a baby, cradled deeply in her mother's tender embrace. Resting in the silence of our minds. Watching thoughts melt away one by one, like snowflakes falling on a warm sidewalk. Looking inward, we discover an expansive openness filled with Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, nurturing and protecting us, showing us the way out of suffering. I feel sincerely grateful to be in their presence and to be guided by spiritual teachers, holders of the lineage, who have only others' welfare in mind. May my devotion and enthusiasm gladden their hearts. I rejoice in the good deeds that people do every day, giving their lunch away to a beggar on the subway, rescuing a worm drowning in a freezing puddle, helping an old lady shop in the supermarket. May I repay the kindness of others by helping them in whatever way I can. As the Archbishop Desmond Tutu once said so beautifully, remember, you're not alone, and you don't need to finish all the work. It takes time, but we are learning. We're growing. We're becoming the people we want to be. It helps no one if you sacrifice your joy because others are suffering. We people who care must be attractive, must be filled with joy, so that others recognize that caring, that helping, and being generous are not a burden. They're a joy. Give the world your love, your service, your healing. But you can also give it your joy. This too is a great gift. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Guiding meditation. And today our main topic is celebrating the new year in hope and wisdom. As you know, we have two speakers today. So I would like to invite Venerable Premaratana to start his explanation and talk first.
Reverential greetings to everyone, Vandana, Bhante, and thank you very much for this invitation. First of all, I offer my good wishes to each and every one of you to have a very healthy safe, and bright new year. And this is a great a moment for all of us to take a moment to set goals for this new year. And as the topic says, the celebrating the new year with hope and wisdom. Of course, this new year just started, and we are still in the third day of the new year. And this is the one of the new years that we celebrate. As we know that in different cultures we have different new year days, and particularly in Asia, where the Buddhist tradition is strong, and you have different days to celebrate New Year. But as Buddhists, we know the reality of the nature of conventional reality. So it's okay to have a New Year any day, because we know that the Earth makes one round around the sun. So when we can point any point of the round and say that this is the beginning. If we make a convention, that is the beginning point, because it's a cycle. So any point can be the beginning point. So, but anyway, the January 1st is the most, for commercial and for all other, international relations, that is the practical New Year for all of us. I think and today we will talk about how we can add Buddhist values to start this new year, to celebrate this new year. I think that any new year, in January 1st to any other new year, any new year is an opportunity for us to reflect on the journey of our life, and then set goals and reorient ourselves. And in the Buddhist practice, reflecting is a very important practice. Buddha has asked us always to reflect, keep reflecting on our speech, on our deeds, on our thoughts. And so we use a technical term called paccavekkhati, reflecting. Buddha has recommended us to conduct ourselves after reflecting whether this action is going to benefit all living beings, benefit me or benefit others or benefit both. So Buddha has recommended to reflect any of our actions before we do it, while we are doing it, and even after we do it, whether that action is beneficial to oneself and others. So this is a good opportunity to put into the practice this important technique of reflecting. And so this new year that we are now starting, it's a good opportunity for us to look back and then learn the lessons from the last year, and then set goals for the new year. And usually we know that whenever we have issues with our technical devices, could be a computer, could be an internet connection, or any other device that we are using, whenever we have an issue, whenever we call tech support to fix your machine, what is the common advice you get from them? And if you had an issue with your internet connection or computer or any other machine, remember, what the tech support usually asks us to do? They ask us to restart. And they think that if you can restart, many of the problems will be solved. All the unnecessary, programs that has been downloaded, all the unnecessary cookies, all the cluttered things will be all gone once you restart the machine. And the machine will be able to have more space and work very efficiently. I think the new year is such a good opportunity for us to make that kind of restart. Of course, we don't have a restart button, but actually new year can be an opportunity for us to mentally reflect how we spent the last year, and then restart our new year from this moment onwards. So I would like to suggest, some important practices that we can do from the Buddhist perspective, as practitioners, as followers of the Buddhist path, and what kind of things that we can add, what are the Buddhist practices we can add to celebrate our new year, to create with hope and wisdom. Of course, one very important thing we can do is actually start with reflecting of the previous year, but importantly, after reflecting, we can start with gratitude, reflecting on the past year and thinking about the people who helped us, the moments that we were loved, we were cared for, just focusing on those moments that we receive help and kindness, and then feel grateful for that, for those people, and also for the whole year. And even so, starting, the best way to start the new year is actually starting with gratitude, feeling so thankful and grateful that we survived the last year. And it is an amazing thing. We also survived the last year. And so we can feel grateful, not only to the help and care and good things that we received, but even for the lessons that we learned. Of course, last year was a really difficult year for all of us. And it kind of, but at the same time, although we had so many difficulties, it also taught us so many things. And it also helped us to discover new things. And for example, the very session that we are having right now is a result of the pandemic, right? During the pandemic period, we discovered more ways to connect with each other, particularly connect remotely, and we increase our online presence. So there are so many things too. But any difficult lessons, we can also be grateful to those lessons. And also, some people even discovered new skills during this pandemic period. I'm sure that many people learn more computer skill. I'm sure that many of us are more computer savvy than previous years, because we had to deal with this computer. So we can be grateful for that. And some people discovered they are cooking. Some people start to cook and do some other thing, craft work. And so they discover their hidden skills too. So we can be grateful for all those things. For difficult moments and for good moments, we can reflect through the last year and then be grateful. And gratitude will help us, will give us a strength to start the new year, feeling grateful for everything happened in the past year. Good things happen, we are grateful for that. Bad things happen, we are still grateful for them, because they taught us so many things. They taught us the impermanence. They taught us, unreliability. We cannot really rely on external things. So it's a good lesson. So we can be grateful for that. So gratitude will be one good Buddhist virtue, Buddhist value that we can add to start this new year. I'm personally so grateful, because people keep on looking after us. As monks, we rely on the community. So even though it is a difficult period, but people took extra care of monks for us, of us. So I'm deeply, deeply grateful for them. And so we can start our new year with gratitude. The second one I would like to highlight is actually the second Buddhist value that can be useful for us to start the new year is what we call letting go. Of course, we can be grateful for all the bad and good things happen in the past year, but at the same time, we should also be able to let go of the negative memories of the, particularly not necessarily the memories, but the negative feelings of, things happen, negative things happen in the previous year. So the letting go. And Buddha has, taught us in the Snake Sutra, Uraga Sutra. In the Snake Sutra, Buddha said that snakes sheds its old skin from time to time, and then renew himself or itself. So in the same way, Buddha has advised us, just like a snake will shed its old skin from time to time, we should be able to shed off or let go of our past from time to time. So it's a good opportunity for us to relax and let go of the negative feelings that we may have about people, about incidents, and sometimes even about ourselves. Sometimes, we may have taken bad decisions, and, we will not be able to successfully in some time. Our plans may not have, we were not able to achieve our goals maybe. And then we develop our negative feelings about ourselves. But this is a good opportunity and to let go of these negative feelings. And how to let go is not really actually forgetting what happened, but changing our relationship and not giving so much value to those negative moments happen in the past, our own mistakes, and also, you know, what other people, you know, negative things that other people have spoken to us and done to us, and we can they will still in our memory, but we don't give that significance to them. We reduce the value that we give to them, and then in that way we can let go. So letting go, and because past is gone, no, last year is already gone. There's no way we can correct them. And so we don't have to correct all the mistakes that happen. What we have to correct is actually what we are going to do next. So letting go of all the things and relaxing one's mind is another Buddhist value we can practice right now to start the new year. The last one I would like to suggest is to be in Buddhist tradition, we have this practice called determination or adhitthana. We set the goals, and then so as Buddhist practitioners, we all have set the most important goal, that is to become enlightened, and that's our goal. All our life journey is towards that goal. So in this in the new year, we can also set a goal related to that larger goal, and also related to our daily worldly life. So there can be two types of goals that we can set. So setting resolutions, setting goals is the third one we need to do. And of course, we can focus on very practical matters, you know, what kind of thing that we would like to achieve in this new year. And we have a whole brand new years, and we have, you know, 300 plus new days in front of us. So we can set goals, but we have to be practical and we have to be concrete, what kind of goals we need to achieve. But and so it can be related to your family, your career. But I also suggest you that we can also set goals about our own personal qualities and focusing on common weakness that we have, you know, common unwholesome patterns, unwholesome habits that we have, and setting a goal to change that, to transform that, because that changing is a part of our larger journey towards the enlightenment. So I think one important goal we can set is actually how many defilements that I'm going to reduce. You know, how many defilements I'm going to work with, you know, this year, and setting a goal that I will reduce more defilements in this year. So when I approach the new year, I am a step closer to enlightenment. So that will be a good resolution to make, you know, becoming a step closer to enlightenment, which means to recognizing our own unwholesome patterns, our defilements, and setting a goal that, you know, I will work with this particular defilement. You know, I have this attachment issue, you know, I have this anger issue, you know, I have this, you know, pride issue. So I'm going to work on this particular defilements, and I'm going to reduce it. I'm going to, you know, weaken it. I'm not going to, you know, feed it, and that way, you know, we'll be a step closer to enlightenment. So those are the, you know, suggestions that I would like to, you know, share with you, and focusing on gratitude and being grateful to all the help we received, and also all the bad moments that we had, which taught us so many things, and then developing this attitude of letting go and not giving so much importance to incidents happen in the past. Simply, you know, changing the relationship with them, focus more on the present, and then setting goals for the new year, and setting resolutions, and making sure that they are very practical and they are very specific, and also add a resolution related to the enlightenment, and how we can be a step closer to the enlightenment this year. So although we had a difficult year, I think we should not lose our hope. You know, just imagine that, you know, we didn't have a pandemic last year. Let's just say that we didn't have a pandemic. But do you think that, you know, we'll be free of problems? You know, this pandemic is only an addition to our problems. You know, we didn't have a pandemic like 5 years ago. But even when we start, even 5 years ago, we had our own difficulties and problems and challenges. So I think pandemic simply added an extra burden to our life, but our problems, our issues, our suffering, our difficulties are just the same. But New Year gives us a good opportunity to reflect and start to change ourselves. So I hope that this New Year we can have more hope, because we learned so much from our previous year. So we have more experience, more wisdom. I think that we can all move forward with more knowledge. So I really wish that, maybe all be able to have a good resolution for this year. And as a collective, as a group, we'll all be able to be a step closer to enlightenment in this year. Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you so much, Bhante Premaratana.
Bhante,
And
one more suggestion I would like to make, Bhante, when we set a resolution, I would like all of us to write that resolution, because when we set resolution, Bhante, we forget it. We will have resolution in our mind in January. We are very focused on that. By February, we are half focused on that. By March, we have forgotten our resolutions. So I always encourage people to write it. And this year, actually, we gave both the leaves for people to write their resolutions. So they write it, and then they can keep it in a visible place. So it will help them to reorient their life to that goal. So that will be another suggestion, actually. Write them down there, writing those resolutions and keeping it somewhere they can see it very often.
thank you so much for that explanation. Also, then I like to invite for next talk to Venerable Geshe and Sonam. Please start your talk.
Since are you able to hear me properly?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So it's good evening, everybody, and good morning if there are any people on this side of the globe in Asia. Good morning. First of all, thank you for having me to join this talk and share some of my thoughts. And the topic is celebrating the new year in hope and wisdom. So hope and wisdom, that's my main focus today. Basically, when you see around, particularly during this time of pandemic, even if the pandemic has not got them, many people lost hope and committed suicide. So hope means wishing for something better to happen. That is hope. So being optimistic that good things will also happen while we are experiencing bad things. So that's hope. If you take it further from a Buddhist perspective, we all have the Buddha nature. So when you get depressed, when things are not working well, when you remember your ability, the latent potential within you for perfection, for enlightenment. And if that understanding of the Buddha seed within you is not just word alone, but something that is supported by your own understanding of the Buddha nature, philosophical, intellectual, as well as experiential understanding of the Buddha nature, then you will never feel depressed at all. you will never feel despondent. So many of us, usually, we do not concentrate on our potentials, particularly us Buddhists. We seldom remember that we have the Buddha nature or the seed for perfection. And as a result, we become lazy, we don't study hard. And then, although we have the concept of reincarnation, karma, impermanence, emptiness, how far do we use them in our daily life on a daily basis? How far do we remain conscious of these realities? As Buddhists, I wouldn't say reincarnation is just a concept. No, it's a reality. It's a fact. Emptiness is not a concept alone. It's a fact. Impermanence is not a concept alone. It's a fact. If you think of the 16 attributes or aspects of the Four Noble Truths, and then concentrate on the four, particularly the first two attributes of the truth of suffering, impermanence, and suffering nature. That's very true. But do we really think of the impermanence nature of us as individuals, of our aggregates, of the samsara that we are in? We don't really think much about that, let alone the grosser, or let alone the subtle impermanence. Do we remain conscious of the gross impermanence? That means that death is inevitable, and the time of death is very uncertain and could be any time. If you remain conscious of that, then on a daily basis, you will not do stupid things. You will always feel optimistic because you are doing the right thing by remembering that that could occur. And so therefore, every time that you have, you know how to treasure them. And if you compare yourself to the creatures, animals, we are actually humans. We have immense capability as humans. We have intelligence. We have the ability to speak. We have the ability to combine our thoughts with our words. When I observe the pets around me, the cats who always come here to beg food, I actually can get a sense of what goes in his or her mind. But then they are not able to express things the way we are able to. So we have this, and then if you compare yourself with other fellow humans, we have access to these great, profound teachings of Lord Buddha. And so being appreciative of the opportunities that you have in life, that's actually something very important. If you don't remain conscious of these facts, and then outwardly we are Buddhist practitioners or people who aspire who are actually drawn to Buddhist views, Buddhist practices. That's outwardly, but inwardly, we still feel materialism is almost everything in life. We still feel that because we belong to this modern society, busy society, we also need to get busy like the rest of the people around us. We also need to comply with materialism, and so therefore, for our own happiness, we need to quench our desire. So we don't really think of controlling the emotions from within. We only think of feeding the negative emotions, isn't it? Buddha Shakyamuni has taught us how to control our emotions. But what we actually do is we feed our emotions. We feed our desire. We feed our anger. And so, in a way, although we might dress differently, we might think we are Buddhists, we don't really follow the Buddha's teaching properly and we follow the businessmen, the modern scientists. So if I ask you, if a scientist says there is reincarnation, you will probably be more excited about it, because we are so used to hearing the concept of reincarnation from Buddhist scholars, from Buddhist masters, from sutras. So in a way, we also give a lot of importance to modern scientists, more than what they actually deserve. I have seen many scientists, their arrogance, their ability to focus alone on things which are physical. I think that actually impedes a lot of wisdom. But despite that, we rely so much on external sources of information, and so and also something which is ostentatious. We give a lot of importance to that. So now, as Buddhist practitioners, your resolution should be to truly become a real Buddhist. We may and shed away our facade of being followers of Buddhist Shakyamuni, and then constantly contradicting ourselves. So that's one thing that I feel is very important. And then now, for example, if you think of whole, in Sublime Continuum, Maitreya says, the activities of the Buddhas constantly shine upon us. The nature of emptiness, nature of mind within oneself, and the enlightened beings, no difference. As far as the emptiness nature of the mind of us unenlightened beings and then enlightened beings, no real difference. And as we have the potential for enlightenment, we are actually essentially Buddhas in the making. So if you think of that, now to truly appreciate that we have the same emptiness nature as the Buddhas, you really need to understand what emptiness entails. Or if you are followers of Theravada tradition, then you would appreciate the selfless nature that we have, which is actually that our mind have, the selfless nature in the state of selflessness. No difference between Buddha's mind and sentient being's mind. And then this Dhammakiti, one of the great Indian logicians, great ancient Indian masters, he says, delusions are advantageous. And then the nature for perfection or nature for qualities are latent within us. So therefore, if you think of why the delusions are advantageous, temporary, then it will really make sense that they are not inseparable part of our mind. If our mind is naturally negative, we are always prone to negative thoughts. But we have positive thoughts. We have neutral thoughts. So it's actually conditioning. When we condition our mind to proper thoughts, it will adapt, it will adjust. And in due course of time, will become natural, spontaneous. That's the purpose of meditation. What we are finding it difficult to acquire in the beginning, or finding it difficult to adapt in the beginning, you use reasoning. And then when you have enough reasoning, there's conviction. And when you then continue with that reasoning, think over those reasons again and again, continuously, then they become experiential. And when it becomes experiential, spontaneous, it becomes natural. Just like learning how to type. First, you find it very difficult to find the alphabet, or remembering which finger is for what. But then when you become proficient in it, then you don't really look at it, You see the speaker and you just type whatever he's or she is saying very naturally. So that also happens. So that's something that I want to remind you. And another thing is the concept of dependent origination, pratitya samudipata. That's very, very important. Just as our venerable speaker Bande has pointed out, everything that we have right now actually is because of the contribution of our fellow humans around us. The robe that I'm wearing, I didn't make it. Or maybe somebody gave me money to buy that. Again, we need somebody to give it to you. You might think, oh, I have money, I can do anything, so I don't have to rely on others. But if you're stranded in the desert with lots of billions of dollars, how are you going to use that money? And how are you going to feed yourself? So you need people, you need others. So at every level, we are interconnected. But mentally, when you give importance, when you have to prioritize, you always prioritize your own personal agenda first. Even if that entails remaining numb to the pains of others, or even causing pains to others. All right. So you are not actually thinking wisely, because our own survival depends on others. And if you think of the concept of karma, reincarnation, then when you are being compassionate to others, actually you are being compassionate towards yourself by accumulating merits for your future lifetimes. The merit that you have committed by yourself, you will be the first beneficiary of that merit. Whether your compassion will impact others or not, that's subjective. It depends on many factors. When you have a kind thought about somebody, that person may not ever know that you have that kind thought of that person. But while that kind thought is within you, you feel happy, contented, optimistic. So being compassionate means being wise, being aware of the reality of dependent origination, that we are interconnected at every level. So leading, and then when there is compassion, ethics will come naturally. Ethical discipline entails not harming others, controlling your unruly minds, and controlling your negative activities. These will naturally come if you have a sense of concern for others. And when you have the concept of karma, you don't feel like you are at the losing end. And when you really remember like that because of these sentient beings, you get the opportunity to practice patience, practice discipline, practice perseverance, practice wisdom, practice concentration, and eventually get enlightened. So your enlightenment is actually achieved with the presence of sentient beings suffering. If no sentient being is suffering, how can you develop compassion? So because we have sentient beings who are suffering, although it's not because they intend to benefit us that they suffer because of their own karma. But despite that, if you use that for your own personal practice, then you can remain grateful that there are sentient beings because of whom we're able to achieve enlightenment. We remain grateful to the Buddhas or the Buddha Shakyamuni for his teaching. But in Shantideva's text, it says both sentient beings and then enlightened beings have equal role in our own perfection or enlightenment. Without sentient beings, we cannot practice compassion. Without compassion, we don't have the perfection practice, the 6 perfections. That's not there. Without sentient beings, we are not human. And we don't have this human form to practice Dharma. So, although both sentient beings and the enlightened beings have equal role in your enlightenment, the Buddha Shakyamuni being our teacher to guide us through his teachings, and sentient beings supporting us to practice that. So equal role. Then why do you distinguish between these two, revere the enlightened beings so much and look down upon sentient beings? Very unfair. For example, if both your parents, your mother, father have taken care of you, and then if you choose your mother or father alone and neglect or reject the other parent, is it wise? So there are lots of practices such as that you could do on a daily basis. The point is, if you truly want to be happy, and then you should appreciate what you have, the access to Buddha's teaching, the access to time, the ability to practice with this marvelous human intelligence. So gratitude, sense of gratitude, as Pandey has rightly pointed, you should remain grateful that you have friends, family members. Sometimes you get angry with them, but it's always your near and dear ones that you get angry with. You can not get angry with somebody whom you have not met or known. And then because we have our, anger happens when we are not really satisfied. So, and we are not satisfied if we think selfishly of ourselves alone. And we also feel angry when we feel the other person has a choice not to do that and is doing that consciously. But if you find a reason why the person had to do that, a way to pardon the other person, then forgiveness is easy. So just as we are individually gripped by negative emotions over which we have no control, they also are gripped by negative emotions over which they have no control. So in a way, although they want to be happy, they do not have the means, the method, the wisdom to be happy. And because of that, act out selfishly and ended up hurting you. So if you think that the person is more of a victim of his own delusions, okay? For example, when somebody is sick, mentally ill, you feel, oh, the person has no control over his mind. You don't get angry with abusive words or acts of that person. So likewise, when you see people are disturbed by negative emotions of which they have no control, there's reason for empathy there. And the other person is actually doing harm by hurting you. You yourself get an opportunity to practice patience. So that's wonderful. So now brooding over past difficulties is not going to help you. Of course, you must remember past difficulties, past differences that you have. Yeah, you must remember. But you must learn to forgive and move on. Because if you hold on grudge, perhaps, but other person might know, or in many cases, they don't know. So the hurt is actually there, not in them. And just because of your negative thought, nothing bad is going to happen to them. And even if some bad things are going to happen to them, that's also not good for you. If bad things happen to you, does it always mean that it's good for you? No. If somebody is suffering, that doesn't mean that you're enjoying. So others' sufferings do not necessarily become the cause of your own happiness. And even even if that is regrettable. There is a very, very shallow way of gratification. It's very momentary. For a brief moment, you might be happy that the other person is suffering, but in real, it's actually strengthening your negative emotions. And then you will suffer in samsara over and again, over and again. So the real enemy is your delusions within. There's no external enemy. So if you have that thought, then forgiving others for their wrongdoings, that will come naturally. And then regretting your past negative actions and making a pledge not to repeat them in the future, or at least reduce. And as you get familiar with the antidotes, the meditative antidotes, think of the 16 attributes of the Four Noble Truths, remembering of the impermanence nature of ourself, the suffering nature of ourself, suffering on the nature of samsara. And then the stronger your, wish for renunciation, wish for liberation and enlightenment is, then many small areas of concern will not really bother you anymore, as they. So despite being in the same community, you live with a different mind. So while in samsara, there is respite for you. You do not get drowned in delusions just as the rest of friends around you are. You remain afloat. So that's something we as Buddhist practitioners would always remember, that the teachings of Buddha and ourselves, if they remain apart, then we are not real Buddhists. We have to embody the teachings within us. That means being conscious of this teaching in our daily life. So when you become conscious of your own death, you do not amass wealth. You don't find difficulty in giving to others. You don't find difficulty in forgiving others. You don't find difficulty in compassion. But when you just think of yourself alone, that's the very root of your own suffering. This philosophically is easy to understand. Practically, if you become a little more open, you will experientially know that is actually very good. So why do you blow up so much of money going around places? Just to feel good. Through the practice of generosity, through the practice of compassion. Right? If you could still feel good without investing much, same result. And that kind of goodness, feeling of goodness, will be much more longer. Even after years of having done that deed, you still rejoice that I have the opportunity to be kind. And then constantly when you're kind to others, every being that you meet around, that becomes the subject of your compassion. So plenty, limitless number of opportunities to practice compassion on others. As a result, you yourself will be appreciated, will happy, and you feel the sense of your, there is meaning to your life, that you are being able to contribute to others' life. So when your own death comes, no regret. In one of the past Jataka tales of Buddha Shakyamuni, he met somebody who was a human eater, another human who devour upon humans, killing humans and eating the meat. So that person actually, in one of past lives of Buddha Shakyamuni came across that person, and the person was actually about to kill the past Bodhisattva. The Bodhisattva showed no remorse. What happened? Okay, the Bodhisattva showed no remorse at all. So that person who was about to kill him asked, why is there no remorse? And he said, in my whole life, I don't remember having committed any negative action. So if I die, no fear, because I'm very confident of my future rebirth. So when you're confident of your future rebirth, then there's no reason to regret when your time to go comes, because everybody dies. Quite recently, I have helped one of my friends to find, His Holiness recognized the reincarnation of his teacher. And when I saw his teacher earlier, his teacher was very, very weak. That was in 2017. And another reincarnation has been found. The reincarnation has a fresh body, looks very much unlike his previous birth. Very feisty, very vibrant, very active, very joyful. Then I thought, oh, as we age, our body becomes less and less flexible, right? More rigid, and we have more physical difficulties. So you can look forward to a new body, fresh mind. So therefore, if you live your life usefully, nothing to regret. So ethics or morality, that's a common foundation for both Theravada and Sanskrit tradition. And then on top of that, if you add compassion basically is commonsensical. It's common sense. It came from Buddha Shakyamuni, of course. It came from other teachers too, but it's commonsensical. It makes sense to be compassionate. If you really live compassion, in the beginning, when you are doing something new for the first time, you are a bit hesitant. You might, and your actions might look artificial, contrived. But in due course of time, because of conviction, because of having habituated with the practice, it becomes very natural. And people will also take after you and will change. So with that, I think, of course, New Year, as our Venerable Bande has pointed out, comes every minute. Every minute is a new year in a sense, because it's new. Something ends. And because of that, again, that being dependent originated, we have different New Years across different traditions throughout the world. Our Tibetan New Year is going to happen in March 2nd. So Chinese also, they have their New Year. Sri Lankans, they have different calendar New Year. So that's also dependent. So we should appreciate our human birth, that we have this precious human opportunity, and on top, access to Buddha Shakyamuni's teaching, impeccable teaching. Although we may appreciate all the religious traditions, if you are a real scholar, if you're really intelligent, wise, Buddha Shakyamuni's concepts of impermanence, emptiness, reincarnation, possibility of enlightenment for all, these are all verifiable, indefatigable, and can withstand any kind of a logical contradiction. These are not fallacious views. These are views based on reality. Also, with that, of course, my time now, has it ended? I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so thank you.
Thank you so much sharing the valuable ideas and concept, and it was almost teaching Dhamma. And now it is the time for questions and answers. If anyone have any questions, they can ask the question directly, or they can put their questions in chat box. Until someone asks any question, I had another question from someone else before. The question is, the New Year celebration, people like to eat and drink and gathering together. It is the nature of all over the world. But the question comes, does the introduction of religious concept create divisions? No?
Does the introduction of religious concept create division?
Mhm. That is meaning the people like to celebrate it with the food and the drinks and everything. The secular, I think, secular celebrations. But if religion involved to that, then it makes some divisions.
Yes, exactly. That's why
Mhm.
this morning, before I actually entered this Zoom, I asked the organizer, is the audience mainly Buddhist? Now, for example, we have different clothes and different colors of skin and different genders, different nationalities, different language. If you look at the differences, limitless differences. But despite the differences, no, and because I felt I was talking mainly to a Buddhist audience. If you look at other traditions, they also say the same thing, isn't it? That their tradition is the best tradition. You should all come under the umbrella of Allah. There's only one God who created us, nothing else, only one truth. Throughout the internet, in national televisions and so forth, everybody says that. What I said is, the concept of Buddhist humanities are verifiable, not imposing on anybody. And they have their own benefit, just like medicines. So even among Buddhist followers, there are different levels of philosophy. There are different levels of practice. And then even among one particular tradition, for example, like the Mahayana tradition in our Tibetan Buddhism, we have different schools. And even among different schools, different monasteries, and our own interpretations of emptiness, Buddha's teachings also vary. So despite our differences, if you see one another as sentient beings, as one another as humans who want, or beings who want to be happy, and the wish, not just the wish to be happy, but the right to be happy. And that then you, despite the differences, you can appreciate one another's viewpoint, or at least remain appreciative of others' viewpoint that's suitable for them. My view is suitable for me. So this is not like a communist propaganda being imposed on you. This is just a suggestion. All right.
So,
this,
are you suggesting that when people eat, they don't eat the same food, right? So they eat different types of food. So some food are good for some and other foods are good for others. So are you suggesting that in the same way, having different cultural celebration, different religious celebrations, so we have to have those different so people can appreciate each tradition?
For example, when people get married and start family and kids, want to have kids or children, do they look for the same gender to marry with? No, the opposite. So you can remain but despite that, you sometimes it's actually the way you mentally envision it to be. Sometimes you need similarities. Sometimes you need diversities, differences. Differences of opinion enriches us. Our world constitutes of multitudes of people of all backgrounds, mentality.
Yeah, Bhante, I think if we focus on human values, there'll be no problems. So what we need to add to food and dance and music is actually focusing on human values. What we talked right now, we talked about gratitude. We talked about our loving kindness and our ability to let go. So if you focus on those values, so those values are going to help anybody irrespective of their religious background. So that way we will not create any conflict or problems.
Mhm. I think both of them give the answer to that question. And if there is any other questions from anyone in different way.
Oh,
You have 23 participants. No question.
I have a question, if I could speak.
Of course, please go on.
Yes.
Geshe Nawang.
Yes.
And you talked about the right to be happy. I find it year by year after becoming a Buddhist, harder and harder to look at the suffering around me and not be overwhelmed by it. It's New Year's here. It's the East Coast. It's cold. I'm looking outside today. I see the animals starving. You know, we live in a world that depends on the suffering of others. And I don't know how to get past that. Even the most perfect of us, if that depend on clothes, we're killing insects to make clothes. We're killing animals to eat. I just don't know how. I'm just overwhelmed by it.
Mhm. So the concept of enlightenment to relieve all sentient beings from samsaric suffering really matters, really makes sense. When you see sufferings around you and it's very overwhelming, unbearable, you don't just stop at that. This suffering, if you, from a Buddhist perspective, if you consider the sufferings of hell realm, these are just nothing. Of course, and then sentient beings in hell realm, they'll suffer much longer. So our being overwhelmed by the sufferings around us, practically speaking, will not lessen their sufferings. So now what we individually, as an individual practice, can best do is make them part of your aspiration for enlightenment. And if you're not able to benefit others instantly, it doesn't stop at that, because life doesn't end with death. That's so concept of reincarnation is very helpful. And then lifetimes of effort from your side to become perfect. And so when you're enlightened, then you can manifest in many multitudes of forms to help sentient beings get over their negative delusions. And then, so that if you, for example, if you try to alleviate one suffering of an individual, maybe, for example, if somebody has headache, okay, you buy medicine and give, or take the person to a doctor and the headache is easily relieved. But so long as we have this ordinary body made of bone, pus, blood, this is always vulnerable to suffering. So long as we have this ordinary mind, it's always vulnerable. So the concept of enlightenment for ourselves, for others also matters. Because if we ourselves are drowned in samsaric suffering, we have very limited capacity to help others. Yeah. So for that, again, you need to study the possibility of enlightenment for you. That reincarnation is actually a reality. And so you remain hopeful despite these sufferings around you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Bhante Premaratana, do you have add to
Thank you,
something?
Geshe, for sharing that. I really like. You know, we may not be able to, help everyone in this lifetime, right? Yeah. But I think, the reason that we feel overwhelmed is actually because now we see suffering in so many people, and also due to media, we also get to know more other forms of suffering. And there are direct suffering, there are indirect forms of suffering. So there is structural violence that we are part of it. So it's really difficult to get rid of everything. as long as we are in the samsara. That is why samsara is imperfect. So we need to, accept it. And but as a practitioners, what we can do is, try to live a life that minimize the suffering of others. And then, as Geshe mentioned, as an individual, still a practitioner, and what we can do is actually focus on the people and beings that we can help. We may not be able to, relieve the suffering of whole the world. Like I remember that story, Geshe, that there's one person was, walking on the beach, and he saw another person far away was walking back and forth from the shore to the water, and bending down and walking back and forth. So he was curious what he's doing, and he's going to the edge of the shore and coming back and then going to the water. And when he went closer to him, he realized that actually the millions of starfish have been washed away from the water because of the strong current. Many starfish are lying down. Millions of starfish has been washed away to the shore. So there were so many starfish. So they have to be in the waters, otherwise they will die. So this man was doing, actually, he just picked one starfish and throw back to the ocean, and again go back and pick another one and throw back to the ocean. But there were millions of them. So this person who came to see me, the person who's picking up, and told him that, what are you doing? Do you think that, just by picking one by one in your hand, can you really make a difference? Because there are so many billions of starfish. Effort useful. And the person didn't reply, and he just went to the another starfish and took that fish and then throw him back to the ocean and say that I made a difference with that one. And that's a whole big difference. So that's what I can do. I may not be able to save all the starfish. I will not be able to make a difference in that sense, but I can make a difference to one life. So that is what we can do.
That's what we can do.
Thank you. Thank you for that story. I try to help in my small yard. I try to help the animals that I can, but I feel so bad that I can't help them all, but I help the ones that I can help. So thank you for that story.
Welcome.
Yes,
And
sir,
another
please.
thing is, if you make a difference to the life of one individual, the person will live. For example, if the person is like 30 years, and suppose he lives another 50 years until 80. Throughout his 50 years of existence on this earth, he will make differences to the lives of others. That's how you influence the world.
Yes, Bande. There's a ripple effect, right? There's a ripple
Yeah.
effect.
Yes, yes.
It's a
If you
reference.
smile, and if you smile with one person in the shopping mall, one person is suffering, having gloomy face, you don't know how to help this person, you just smile and just, show your care and, ask a question and show your kindness. And then that person will, be happy and light up. And then she will also smile with others or be kind to others. There's a ripple effect. So it can happen to so many beings.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the questions and answers again. And I think it is now time to conclusion. Then I would like to invite Bhante Sutadhara for do his conclusion.
And I pay my respect to all Sangha members and the participants. Today, the first Dhamma and Dharma session in year 2022. This is really a very good way to step into the new year. We reflected upon so many opportunities, so many things that we can work on, and so many things for both the speakers, Venerable Bhante Pemaratana and also Venerable Geshe Sonam both touched the topic in two directions. One is focusing on one particular area. The Venerable Premaratne gave a very good introduction since he was the first speaker, and then also he gave some tools how to handle the problems that we face, and also pointed out that we both speakers always going back and forth, either theoretically how you look at it, and also practically how you apply it. So those the Buddha's teachings are just well, knowledge is one thing, and then application is more important. That both speakers try to express the value of that in two different directions, as I mentioned. Venerable Premaratana, he had an approach that looking at outside world and coming to inside. And well, for me, that how I got it, that Venerable Geshe Sonam, he started with the okay, go and crack down delusion. That is that from inside to outside. So when these both approaches are very important. That for us who have been listening to these great the speakers, that is very encouraging for us to have that kind of wisdom to continue and face all the life challenges. Of course, that the challenges are not going to end as long as we are in a samsaric journey, as being born again and again. So that for that, we have to prepare ourselves to handle our situations. We are always, both speakers emphasize that, okay, well, in other words, that, okay, remember, we are not superhuman. We are human beings. We have human limitations, but within that limitations, you can make a difference. So that's the message that we got, and I thank both speakers for bringing this wisdom to all of us. And I thank also our Venerable Dan, who guided meditation with the quotations from Bishop Desmond Tutu. It's also gave us that, okay, the world is full of suffering. There are a lot of people suffering, but we have to light up their life with our smiles, with our pleasant approach. So that's also very important. It is going with the today's topic very much. And thank you. And those are the few things that I just touched. And thank you for organizing this forum for all of us.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you,
Then
everyone.
I would like to give time to Bhante Dhammaloka to, if we have to say something or give the thank speech and over the program.
Thank you, everyone. And actually, I'm very happy. Today's program went very nice, meaningful, and important for everyone. So all the speakers and none who conducted meditation, and participants, and the one Bhante conducted the program, and also Venerable Sudhara's conclusion, and also at the very beginning, Venerable Geshe and did a nice paying homage in both the main Buddhist languages, in Pali and Sanskrit. It was so beautiful. and organizing. This is a work collectively we did. So thank you everyone, and wish you all very happy New Year, and hope to see you again and again throughout this year, and reaching towards our ultimate goal of enlightenment too at the same time. Thank you again. Thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Okay. Stop it.